Cybersecurity is a team sport. Yeah. And you can't do it.
That's one of our days at the boot camp. We say it's one of our days. Cybersecurity is a team sport.
So there you go.
Yeah. Did you
I absolutely knew that. It was planned.
Liar.
Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right.
So, Donna, you know how we talk about sometimes that, not all the breaches that happen are disclosed.
Yes, we have mentioned that from time to time, that we feel certain they're not all disclosed.
Not that we would have any personal knowledge of such.
We always advise that you should follow the law.
Yeah, but we've always had an issue with trying to find any kind of data around that. Like, we know that not everybody reports, even though they're supposed to. They don't do it. But guess what? We have found a report.
And we're so excited.
By Black Fog. They put a report out recently. I jumped right on it. And one of the things that it talks about, it compares in a lot of different areas the disclosed breaches and the undisclosed breaches. And very interesting data. And there's also, I'll kind of throw in a little crazy part here, is there's also some that are neither disclosed or undisclosed. So we'll never get the full picture, but we're going to dive into it today and talk about the point that you don't really know about. Like, did somebody have a breach and they just didn't tell you?
Yeah.
That's potentially a thing. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a new thing, a new problem. I call it the cousin to Shadow IT, which is Shadow AI.
Yes.
It is likely running rampant in your organization and you don't yet know about it.
Yeah, unless you last year started doing when we said, hey, you need to get your hands around this. And now.
Yeah. And the interesting part is, like, I've got some tools that look for Shadow IT indicators. What it doesn't yet do, because I looked, it doesn't yet look for Shadow AI indicators. So I'm already, emailing the vendor. I'm like, get on top of this.
I mean, what do you look for?
Well, in some cases, it's just looking for things like, are they getting emails from, for example, OpenAI? This like indicates that they may have an account. So if my email address is getting an email that says, hey, set up your new account that you just signed up for, then it's like, what? Wait a minute. And so it'll flag that. Yep, it'll flag it. Because that's kind of what it does with some of the Shadow IT stuff, is it says, hey, did you know that David in accounting is getting a whole bunch of emails from Dropbox, and Dropbox is not something that you use in your organization? You might want to look into that.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about all that today. And this is also something that we'll be bringing up at the PriceTech Boot Camp.
Yes.
Which is your time to really get in here, learn about all the things that are going on. We're going to talk 4 days of privacy and security with a slant toward healthcare. But even if you're not in healthcare, there's tons of valuable information in there.
Because really and truly, it's about how to manage the privacy requirements that apply to you, because all privacy requirements don't apply to everybody the same way, even under HIPAA, and managing cybersecurity to protect the data that you have, which managing the cybersecurity, that's the thing that everybody's got to do today.
Yeah. There's even a session about breach notification, which is going to be important for today. If you're interested in learning more about the PriceTech Bootcamp, go to PriceTechBootcamp.com. It is coming up in May, so coming up quickly. Better get tickets. Running out of space. Yeah. So go to PriceTechBootcamp.com. Get your tickets. If you are a member of HIPAA for MSPs or Cardin Club, reach out. We got some special discounts for you.
That's right. You always get some special treatment.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not.
All right. So before we dive into everything else, got to point out that OCR dropped a settlement last week.
Yes.
So let's talk about that really quickly, and then we'll dive into the main topic.
Well, we also need to point out that today we're doing something we really have never done on this podcast.
Yeah. If you're not looking at the video part, you don't know we're actually sitting side by side.
Yeah.
But we've done that before, but what we've never done before is actually been in my home studio.
That's right.
Usually we're sitting in a hotel somewhere with paper towel rolls propping up the microphones.
Pots. You remember our podcast?
Yep.
Yeah. We did a podcast.
That was down in Orlando?
Nah, that was when we met in Augusta. I don't know. We do some things. So, but this is the first time at David's studio.
Yes.
And he's got a lot of crap, folks. He's got a lot of crap.
And this is the stuff you see. There's a lot more you don't see. It's just everywhere. So I have to call it a studio so that my tax man can write it off appropriately. Okay.
Gotta do that.
Speaking of that, since tomorrow is tax day. All right, let's roll.
Okay, so this is a breach that occurred in March 2020 in the chaos days.
Yeah.
It's a 2025 settlement of $350,000 and a 2-year cap.
Yep.
So it is the sixth on SRAs, because everything is. Before they had the enforcement initiative, we said all the security ones involved not having an SRA.
Oh yeah.
So it's not really
nothing's changed. They're just telling you that it's part of the enforcement initiative.
Yeah, they're making sure that they're going to be looking at that. That's what it is.
Yeah. I'd love for somebody, just somebody. This is bad. Have a settlement that doesn't have that.
That's not a privacy one. That's a security one that doesn't say you didn't do a good risk analysis.
Like,
I'll have to look.
You had a great SRA, but you still got hit. I know there's got to be somebody.
Well, there is, because there's some where they allowed people to have access they shouldn't have. They gave them too much.
Got to be somebody.
There's those.
Okay.
So, all right. So this is Northeast Radiology PC. They provide clinical services at medical imaging centers in New York and Connecticut. So they are in the radiology world, which means they use the PACS systems, which is Picture Archiving and Communication System, which is notoriously horrible security. Horrible. But all of the different imaging systems will talk to that, and that's what they use then to allow their systems to let them review it. And for some reason, even though, I have had to work with those before, exchanging data, and I had to ask them to make it more secure for me to exchange data with. All right, so, and I had somebody who was, we're going to send this over to our radiologist. We're just going to have an MRI machine in the office. We're going to kick it over to this radiologist. He wants us to put it into his EHR, use the PACS. And I'm like, no, don't. Anyway, so you want to hit Arch Evil is all I ever see with Anthony Archevel.
Is that it?
I don't know. I don't know. We're going to have to call somebody.
I'm actually going to ask him directly. I connected with him on LinkedIn.
Okay. You ask him.
I sent him a connection request. We'll say it that way.
Okay.
Send him a connection request. When he replies,
yeah,
I will be like, how we say your name? Because we are butchering it.
We know we are. Yes.
All right. So I like this one because you'll see. A HIPAA risk analysis is essential to identifying where electronic PHI is stored and the security measures in place to protect it. Here's the part I love. A failure to conduct a risk analysis often foreshadows a future HIPAA breach.
Foreshadows. That's what you like.
I like the mic drop. It's like, basically, if you're not doing this, chances are we're going to be talking to you.
Yeah. And again, this is the basis for any serious risk management-based cybersecurity program.
Oh, yeah. not just HIPAA.
Yeah.
All of them. You got to do some type of
yeah.
analysis.
You don't just start doing stuff and then assume that you've gotten everything. You have to know what you got and then do stuff.
I love the ones that are like, we're doing it backwards. We put all the security in place, and then we went back and we put together a risk management plan, and then we decided to do an analysis to see where we were.
There you go. Sounds about right. That's the ones I go and get. All right, so they had a breach of unsecured EPHI, that unauthorized individuals had accessed the radiology images stored on the PACS server, and 298,532 patients whose information was potentially accessed because, I had somebody ask, well, can I prove that so-and-so didn't look at it? And I'm like, well, you have to prove that because otherwise you have to assume they did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the difference here is you can't just.
They exfiltrated, they just didn't look at it.
They took it. So anyway, they didn't do an SRA.
But that kind of sounds like what MSPs often say, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm moving the data around, but I didn't look at it.
Yeah, I don't look at it. I have complete access and the ability to destroy it and remove your ability to access it and look at it all I want, but I'm not a business associate.
Yeah. I've got a call this week with a new backup vendor, by the way.
Oh.
They don't have their own BAA. Yeah, we're going to be having a conversation about that.
I bet you are.
Yeah, they put me in touch with the CEO. I was impressed.
Okay.
So.
Really?
Yeah.
They just sign whatever comes to them.
They signed the one I sent. Well, one of my employees sent it, and then after they sent it, I was like, "That's for a covered entity. You can't sign that one."
No.
But they signed it anyway. But I will credit them when they signed it. They did come back and say, "You're going to need to change that some because it says we're a covered entity." And I'm like, "You're correct. You shouldn't have signed that one."
So I have so many questions.
So,
if they had that much knowledge.
Yeah.
Because that's usually what people screw up right away.
Yeah. So, I'm hopeful, but it was interesting that the CEO wants to talk. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's talk.
Uh-oh. He doesn't know what he's getting himself into.
He does not.
I should call him. Look, I made this mistake like 12 years ago. Don't take the call.
You cannot ignore me.
It'll never go away.
I'm like a, never mind.
Gum on my shoe. We'll just
that's an easy one, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Not nothing that flares up every so often.
Okay, walk away from that one right there. So they got their 2-year cap, their $350,000, and if you work with a PACS system, I encourage you to really do a deep dive. And if you are, like I can tell you right now, if you were working with somebody that was dealing with a PACS system, that would be something that you'd say, well, the vendor manages it. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't touch it.
Oh, no, I wouldn't touch it.
You wouldn't secure it at all.
Yeah.
So ask that question, folks.
Yeah.
There's your note to self. So that brings us to our fun little report, and David sent it right away. Look, they have undisclosed.
Yeah.
And it's only covering the first quarter. And so I liked this title. That's why I used it. They got hit. They just didn't tell you.
Yeah. Like I said, unfortunately, we've been part of some of those.
Not party to.
No, not party to. More like you should really report.
We know that that's happened, and we've told them, and then we're under an obligation legally to leave it at that. So we're not going to go any further
it's your
into
business
that.
decision.
That's right.
However,
I don't have a lot of pull after that. You talk to your attorneys. I'm out. I'm not a lawyer. Okay, so
well, let's do one thing real quick.
What?
Because I had the question. I'm sure listeners will. How do they know that they're undisclosed?
So they go and they look on. A lot of these gangs now, they'll exfiltrate the data, and then they post it on the dark web.
Right.
Or some of them have a blog telling you who they've hit. And so there's information out there on the dark web. And if you go look, here's the company name in the data, and the gang has posted who it is because they're looking at the company information.
Yeah.
So they're posting who it is. Here's some of the data to prove it. And then you go look, and that company has not made any disclosures as far as the public is concerned. If any were made, they have not been released to the public, which, the minute you make one in healthcare, you do it, you got to do the anyone over 500 or more, you have to do usually the press release, and the HHS ones, those are going to get out.
Yep.
And the less than 500s, they don't get out. But a ransomware attack's usually that's not going to be less than 500.
Yep.
So they did, and it's global numbers, but we'll hit that in a minute. So they're out there looking of all the records that they could find and all the companies that are in those records.
Okay.
And if we don't have a matching disclosure, then it's an undisclosed one.
Right.
There you go.
Okay. Now that we know.
Well, we were all like, how are they doing that? do they have an inside, hook? Anyway, so the ones that were identified as disclosed ransomware attacks, 278 in Q1 2025. Well, 278, and some people are like, well, 278, that's not that bad. But really, in comparison to previous years, it's a lot more.
Yeah.
And they have a total Q1, they're comparing Q1 all the way back to 2020, and there were 41 in 2020, and then it keeps going up. In 2023, there was 101, 192 last year, and now we're at 278. Yep. And those are the ones we know about.
So Q1 has already beat all the other years.
It's up another 45% year over year.
I mean, just looking at the graph, it almost looks like the Q1 of 2025 is as much as 20, 21, 22, and 23 combined.
Well, I'm not going to do that math in my head.
I didn't do the math. I'm
just saying. It goes bad when I do.
Just looking at
but it does. 20, 21, 22, it's more than that, I think. Because, yeah. So,
anyways, it's not good.
No, it's not a good thing. And if you look at each month, then you try to break it. Oh, maybe we had one bad month. Nope.
No. March.
But it's an increase every month. But it's consistently getting worse. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So it's 22% more than year over year January, 36% in February, and 81% in March.
So it'll be 120% in April. This is just wrong. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at trends, and we don't see any chance of this stopping.
No.
Or cutting back at all. And and granted, it is all around the world. But one of the things before we get into talking about further that's important to note is of that 278 that we know about, that we've been told, 64 of those haven't shown up on the dark web. So that means that all of the disclosures, or the ones that they're counting as non-disclosures, clearly they're not all there either.
Right.
We don't know. And if you look at 64 out of 270, that's a significant number. So just keep that in mind. It could be, whatever that percentage is, again, somewhere in the 30 to 40% range, more likely. So when we talk about the shadow AI, they brought it up as something that they think is going to make all these numbers worse.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to explain, Lucy, the shadow AI, they call it, what's the headline here? The silent threat to enterprise data security. And it is, the point is that employees get these unsanctioned AI tools and they put the company data in them. And now the AI tool is designed to learn and integrate that with all the data it has, unless you have made sure that you have a version that doesn't do that. And if we just did the report that said nobody's training people on AI.
but AI is training it on you.
I know, right? If you're not a looking,
Things are cooking.
trouble's a cooking. And there is a great deal of concern because, I mean, we know just how much AI has made a difference in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
Not just our businesses, our lives.
It's a great tool. And interestingly enough, I had a conversation with somebody that was a bank executive last week. And I said, so do y'all have policies? Like, because I was talking about shadow AI. And I said, you got any policies on that? And she said, IT might have them, but I'm not sure. I'm like,
Everybody should know.
okay.
Did you give one of those faces that made them get a little sick?
Yeah, I was like, huh. I mean, you're an executive of a not small bank, and you're not sure.
Is your money there?
Some of it may be. It is fairly insured.
Hope so.
So think of it this way: you got all the AI tools. AI is buzzing everywhere, and they're great. People are using them probably at home, probably on their phones. Honestly, you're not going to be able to get away from it because it's baked into your phones. And if anything on your phones, especially baked in, everybody's going to have access to it. You can't run from it. So do people use AI? The answer is yes, even if they don't think they are. And are they using them in a way that matches your policies? Oh, wait a minute, you don't have a policy. Well, then have one.
Yeah. I mean, last year when I did that webinar series on AI, one of the things that we pushed, and if you did the paid version, we even gave you like a little example kit of things that you should do for governance of AI. Get started now. I told them then, if you don't get started soon, you're not going to be able to get your hands around it. It's going to be out of control.
Yep.
And, we study all of our stuff so closely. And it's like if somebody, one of my team, because they're so paranoid at this point.
I wonder why.
I've done those things to them. If they stumble on something and it looks like AI, they're like, is this something we're supposed to use? But it's also that AI is getting some really good, really, really good phishing.
Oh, yeah.
So I hear Carla using a lot of words that usually only I use. And I like query what's going on because why not?
Yeah.
And it's probably not me doing it, or I would be face to face. And it was an email, and it was an email chain that looked like somebody had sent me an invoice saying, thanks for joining our club, whatever. It was some sort of subscription to a business something.
Okay.
And it was an email, so that was the original email and had an invoice attached. And then I send an email saying, well, can you send it to this address, accounting at, and then company. Back to them. And then they send it to that address, which does pop out for Carla. And it was, hey, I've been asked to forward this. So if you go through the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she, like, right away, she knew this is BS. There's no way that this is true because never heard of it, what it is. And that's just not the way we do things. We would never do it that way.
So I'm going to coin a term. I haven't heard anybody use it yet. So you heard it here first, folk.
Oh, no.
So everybody knows of multi-factor authentication. So my new term that I use for verifying things like these is multi-factor communication.
Yes.
Yeah. So you should have multiple ways that you're communicating when there's something like, I don't know, a payment request or change the bank details or something like that. Use multi-factor communication to authenticate, whether that's accurate.
Yeah, we have, even my family has a code word.
Yep.
I
know what it is. That look on your face like, what?
There's no way I would have told you that. And if I did, there's no way you would remember it. Because this is a funky family thing.
So I'm not part of the funky family.
No, you're funky. And now that part of it. What is terrifying is that what we're able to do and what we're already seeing with AI. Because I remember reading a report last year where everybody's like, oh, the cybersecurity people, it was one of the reports, there's not that many that are AI or involved in these attacks. And it exploded shortly after that.
Yeah.
As far as they're figuring it out, you just haven't seen it yet, is the way we knew it.
Well, the next piece of it is the AI agents. So agentic AI, and it's coming fast. It's already here, but it's getting more and more attention than just the normal AI stuff. So they're going to be able to put all of this stuff on AI autopilot, every bit of it. It's just set it, forget it, and that's it.
Yes, that's the one that terrifies me.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. And these numbers that we're talking about today, they're going to get a lot worse. And for people who aren't taking cybersecurity seriously, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's any hope for some of you. And why you're not investing in cybersecurity and being involved in it. Not just, like, you can't outsource it all. Cybersecurity is a team sport. Yeah. And you can't do it.
That's one of our days at the boot camp. We say it's one of our days. Cybersecurity is a team sport.
So there you go.
Yeah. Did you
I absolutely knew that. It was planned.
Liar. All right. So, but yes, it's the culture. The culture has to change. And until you're willing to change the culture, no, it's not gonna.
Yep.
And we've had multiple of our monthly hangouts that we do in the club, multiple conversations about how do I convince leadership that the culture has to change, because until they embrace it, it's not going to change.
All right.
So that being said, this is big numbers on the undisclosed ransomware attacks. So technically, we know that they could have found 64 more that were over here in this list that they didn't find. But the undisclosed, so we said 278 that hit the news.
Yep.
How many more would you expect? Now, just get a number to yourself, and if you've looked at the report, you don't get to play. What percentage more? Would it be, times 2, times 5, times 10? What do you expect it will be? And I guarantee you wouldn't think about it. What is it, 982% increase?
It's close to 1,000% more. Wow.
2,124 that they found that were never in the news. So, ouch. Now, when we look at the ones that were disclosed, healthcare, it is a tower unto itself.
Yep.
Also looks like a middle finger on this
You
chart.
win. It does look.
You win by far. I mean, I think it's maybe a third or so of the 278 are all healthcare.
Yep.
So one would hope, knowing about healthcare, that and worldwide, if it's healthcare data, there's almost always going to be some sort of disclosure law that applies. We didn't get a zero number, David.
No, we did not.
No zero number. In fact, it's not even the lowest number on the chart of undisclosed ones. Good news, it's not the highest.
No, but if you look at it, look at the scale at the bottom.
Yeah.
You'll notice that the number of undisclosed is actually higher than the number of disclosed.
Yes.
So not good.
Yes.
Not good at all.
So a significant number more healthcare breaches not disclosed than they are disclosed. It looks like it's about, 175 roughly not disclosed. I don't know if they tell us that exact number on healthcare or not. And before everybody kind of assumes that, yes, these are global numbers, but guess what? You got a 50-50 chance of it being in the United States. Everyone. Because over 50% of both the disclosed and the undisclosed, USA.
Yep.
55% undisclosed. 52% disclosed. So significant.
Yep.
With that being said, we know that you're supposed to be telling people when you have these. And the one thing that they didn't really go into is how are they, there's no study. When you're looking at just disclosures, you're not looking at the details behind the attack. I mean, it would be hard to do both. But if we look at 64 additional ones, and let's say it's 50 something on healthcare, plus the 100 and something, so well over 200. We're getting close to the total number disclosed is just in healthcare between the disclosed and the non-disclosed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, wow. I mean, when you think about it, you're getting a massive amount of data when you get healthcare data, almost always. And they give the top 5 breaches of the first quarter. And there's, one that was Amazon Web Services for all the people who say, yes, we never get hit. Note to self, just because you're in Amazon Web Services, oh, we do Amazon Web Services or we do Google Cloud, so we're good to go.
That goes back to the question about, my data's in the cloud, I don't need security, which I just actually wrote a white paper today on that because,
Really?
yes, it drives me nuts when people say that.
I know.
I don't need security, my stuff's in the cloud. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's why we have our new SaaS inventory that I created, and it freaks people out. But once you have it and maintain it, it can help you manage where all that data in the cloud is going. So anyway, Amazon Web Services use this was in January, and the attack leveraged AWS server-side encryption in order to encrypt data and then demand payment for the decryption keys. So there's that, and then there was an education software provider, and then somebody that's newspapers, and a Sault Ste. Marie tribe of the Chippewa in Michigan, and then a healthcare group in the UK that was on the leak site. It got leaked, and this was reported, though. So they did disclose.
Yeah.
The gang posted data along with their $2 million ransom.
Woo.
Their demand for money. In exchange for getting rid of the data, they just put some little...
Is this also the one that, would allow you to extend the date?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so for $10,000 a day, you could extend the date that they were going to drop the entire database to the public.
Yeah. It goes up every day.
Wow.
And they stole 2.3 terabytes of data.
Wow.
So we're not looking at tiny little bits of data that are being gathered. And the other piece of that is that the average of the ones, because they can't look at this is the thing that I don't know, is of the undisclosed, are they including those in the stats? I'm going to assume no, but the average size of the company is 3,700 employees.
Huh.
So when we were looking at those top 5, all of those numbers are right in that, except for obviously the AWS one, which kind of confusing how you count it. But those other companies are all right around that average. So there has to be a ton of the ones we know about. There are some big ones, big companies. So there has to be a ton of tiny ones. So for all of you, I'm too smalls. Yeah.
Well, you think about it, though, too. You got to remember, we're talking just one quarter. So you're talking close to, let's just say 2,500 attacks that were successful. That's just in 3 months.
Yeah. Adding the two together. Yeah.
That doesn't even cover the number that we don't know about, that were neither found, undisclosed, or reported. And it also doesn't cover the ones that got blocked and thwarted, you know.
And there's a lot of those that I know people don't believe that happens.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of times that ransomware attacks are blocked.
I mean, we're a small IT company and we block them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like we block the person trying to get in. It's like we block the initial email or something like that. Whereas had you clicked on this, you would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it's hard to say, really and truly, what the actual number of companies that have been hit.
Yeah.
But just based on what we know, the ones we know about.
Mm-hmm.
And it said that 95% of the time, data exfiltration is involved now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that never happened until I guess 2019, I want to say it started happening.
Yeah. There was another stat in here that said that, here we go, 57% of all attacks use PowerShell.
Yeah, so for all of you IT folks out there, keep that in mind.
Yep.
That's that living off the land.
Mm-hmm.
That is a tool that technology folks use on the PCs on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, it's there by default on all Windows machines, and most IT folk use it all the time, especially if you're doing things that involve scripting and such. And it's hard to block something like that fully, because then it could affect my ability as your IT provider to patch stuff and run all these other things that need to be done. But anyway, keep that in mind.
Yes, and if everybody asks about don't these people have something better to do? Do you realize how much money they're making?
Yeah. I mean, this is their job.
Yeah.
It's like me asking you, John, do you not have anything better to do than your day job?
I know. It's a lot of days I wish I did.
I mean, it's not that they're sitting at home unemployed and don't have anything to do, so they're trying to take advantage of people. This is their job. This is crime, organized crime.
I'm busy criming. What is your job, David? I'm a crimer.
Yeah.
But if you see these folks, and with the way it's distributed now, that there's people that all they do is go find a machine. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then they cultivate that machine and they'll check on it and make sure that they can get into it. And I've seen them ping it every month or so. Yeah. Where, we'll find one and you can see them tracking them and, all the way back. Hopefully you find where they originally came in. But then they sell that to someone else. Mm-hmm. They don't do anything other than make sure the machine is there for you.
Yeah, they're just an access broker.
Mm-hmm. So they made some money. They sell it to somebody else. Often those people are the ones that are the affiliates of the ransomware gangs. Ransomware as a service. And then they get it from the ransomware gang and start the attacks. So it's so many layers that there are so many people. It's not just like there's 5 people in a basement.
No.
Or even a high rise. There's a lot more.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at, I think the number was 22% of all the data exfiltration was to China.
Wow.
Nobody else was even in double digits. So it is known that they have entire, sections of their military that just work in buildings doing hacking to make money for them.
Yeah.
So there's plenty to be learned when you evaluate all of these different ways that they looked at this. But the shocking number of non-disclosures, I mean, I knew that, but did you know it was that big? That much different?
I don't think so. I think I know I probably said it in a previous podcast, like what I thought the number was percentage wise. I don't recall what I would have said, but I probably wouldn't have come up with nearly 1,000%.
No, there's no way I would have thought it was that big.
I would have thought maybe it's probably 300 or 400% higher.
Yeah, and still not even be close.
Yeah.
So if you don't see that and find a way to at least be aware, people need to be aware because it's getting harder to stop them.
Yep.
Between the AI on their side and the AI happening under the covers on your side that you don't know about.
Yeah. The cool thing about this is now we know that we can look at reports, and when it says X number of data breaches per whatever, year, quarter, whatever, we can just multiply that by 1,000. And we're going to get pretty close to the undisclosed number.
Yeah. So well, if you have been hit by one of these, then you truly understand how painful they are.
Yeah.
If you've never been hit, count yourself not just lucky, but fortunate.
Yeah.
Because it is so hard to work with somebody that's going through one of these.
Yeah. It is, it's a lot of downtime. It's a lot of hair on fire. And in some cases, it's a lot of almost like helplessness because things can't move as fast as you want them to move. That's just the nature of what it is.
Yeah, it's not like the IT folks can come in and they've got all the numbers running across the screen and they're like, I'm going to stop them. They're routing through here.
Yeah, but they did it on TV in 30 minutes.
I know, right? It's not like that. It's not like that at all.
No.
And, there are cases where they do battle for the network. We know of them, but those are few and far between.
Yeah.
It's usually a crime scene and the crime tape gets put up around all of the computer systems because we don't know what's infected.
Yep. And most of the time it's, they were in there for days, weeks, months, whatever.
Yeah, they do that on their way out usually.
Yeah, so it's tough.
Yeah, so if you're dealing with a business that suddenly all of a sudden has a lot of computer problems that aren't getting fixed quickly, ding, ding, ding. Watch for a disclosure, or no, they're probably not disclosing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We even know it. We expect the disclosure sometimes. When one of your, you were trying to, like your business insurance and you were trying to pay it and they were down?
Yeah, it was a accident fund. I went to their website one day and it was down. And I don't remember. I called them on the phone. It was down.
That's always.
And I emailed them, and it bounced, and I'm like, "This is bad."
Yeah.
And I think we had a call that day, and I said, "Pretty sure they got hacked." And sure enough, it was several days later before I could get confirmation of that. But yeah, they had an active attack that was happening, and it took. I don't think they're fully recovered yet from it.
No, because even the ones that aren't horrendous. I mean, I think I was reading just a few weeks ago that there are still parts of United Health Group Change Healthcare that aren't back up yet.
Oh, I
and it's a year later.
I believe it.
That are not fully back to the status they were in before the attack.
And imagine the amount of resources they can throw at it, and it takes them that long.
Yep.
Imagine when you don't have that amount of resources.
Now, they were gigantic.
Yeah.
Hence the impact on the entire sector. However, it's all relative.
Yep.
And if your community can't call you, email you, or access your website, whatever service you're providing to that community, they're going to notice.
Indeed.
So this concept of shh, don't tell anybody.
Nobody will know.
I don't know how that happens.
Yeah. So for me, it's nobody wants to necessarily disclose it, right? Like there's nothing. I wouldn't say there's nothing good that comes from it, but there's a lot of bad that comes on top of bad.
Yep.
However, from a integrity standpoint, you need to do that because people affected beyond yourself need to know it so they can take the proper actions.
Well, I had an attorney say to me the other day that, at this point, if I'm getting notified I'm in a data breach, there's no sense in notifying me. I know my data's out there. You already got it all. And I said, yeah, but with healthcare data, it's a little different.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah. There's a lot more stuff in there.
At least he agreed with you.
Yeah. And it was an immediate response of, yeah, it's not like, the money stuff is different. The basic money stuff and all of that. But many people are like, well, there's nothing really in my healthcare record. You have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
What is in there. Mm-hmm. And I have worked in healthcare. It has been the way I've made my living since a long, long time ago.
Yeah. But the other thing, too, people often don't think about is it's not necessarily that your healthcare data is going to be stolen and then somehow used against you and cost you money and all that. It's that sometimes they steal the data because they need that so that people can come into the country or so that they can get something else. They're using that as a proxy for something else that is nefarious.
Yeah. Fraud all over the place.
Yep. So
yeah. Identity theft, fraud, they're doing tons of stuff with it. Yeah, because they want to make money. So they're like, what can we do with this? Mm-hmm. And they, start looking and talking to people.
Yep.
I got something to sell, and I got 2.3 terabytes of it. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Mm-hmm. Remember how much back in the day when I started, you couldn't even imagine storing that much data.
I got a 50 meg hard drive. What do you never use all this?
Yeah, when I got started, you had the dual floppies, and you were, cutting edge.
Yeah, we did too.
But and I was working on those mid range and stuff, or the mainframes
where the tapes.
Tapes or huge 8-inch diskettes
the tapes
something
were horrible as far as you couldn't recover. This is like when you had to restore something, it was talking about fingers crossed. It's like an 80% failure rate of backup restores.
Yeah. You pay for restore. David understands all of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yet the conversation still hasn't fully shifted to that. But I am seeing more people talk about it.
Yes. Yes, you are.
As always, we're a decade ahead.
Yeah. I wish I was a decade ahead of retirement.
No. All right.
So there you go. That's what happens every time I bring it up.
That's it, folks. She will never retire. And I'll be here to make sure that never happens. So thanks for listening. Be sure to join us again next week. And remember,
HIPAA's not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.